We're starting. Yes.
Okay, so now I'm about to get into my 10 best. Or are there more?
Of 2011.
Okay, well anyway, whatever.
Well, at least I know we're going to hear good things about good movies this time around.
One of the movies on my 10 best list...
So you're not going to give us in any kind of order, right?
I haven't really... Well, I know what number 1 is unequivocally, but the rest of them are, you know...
We'll let you go on.
Okay, well, one of them is Take Shelter with Michael Shannon, which Ihor mentioned on his list as well. It was just a very, very emotional, suspenseful, psychological
look
drama.
Into you know, a person who's just you know, losing it.
Yeah, it's you're never quite sure whether this guy is going insane or whether he's actually having these visions.
Yeah.
But he's like a really decent family man. He's got a wife, Jessica Chastain is in this as well, who she was also very good. And he's got a little, I think a deaf mute daughter. She's like 5 or 6 years old, really cute kid. And, you know, they're his life. And he's like just an ordinary guy. He's a construction worker or something, and he has all these like visions. But his mother was like, I think she was a paranoid schizophrenic or something at one time, or I don't know if you're that.
It's really a movie that really delves into, you know, person's mind. You just actually, you know, you can actually feel it. It's one of those movies that really, you know, really gets to you.
Yeah, and you can really feel for this guy because he's having all these terrifying visions, but he keeps it all to himself because he's afraid if he tells anybody they're going to think he's crazy and lock him up and put him away and everything. And finally, it ends up coming out anyway, and he goes to get help. But
you know, Michael Shannon's performance in this movie is outstanding.
He's amazing. He's an amazing.
I mean,
actor.
You know, I don't know if anybody else could have pulled this off, but Michael Shannon is, you know, he's great.
Yeah.
And this movie is great.
Definitely 2 thumbs up. Go see it or rent it. It's an excellent, excellent movie.
Don't take shelter, or don't be like the Rolling Stones and give me shelter.
Right. Okay, another one on my list is a very small movie that I felt I had to mention because it was just so unique. It was a movie called Another Earth.
Oh yeah, we saw that.
And it was written and directed.
Mike Cahill.
It was directed. Okay, but
I think he's a Brit.
The girl in it wrote it and produced it or something.
Yeah, I can't remember the specifics, but I know.
I can't remember her name, but she looks exactly like Uma Thurman. But anyway, it was like a really, really cool movie.
That was a cool movie. I don't know why.
It was like kind of excuse me. It was kind of like science fiction, and also like another psychological drama, because the movie starts off with her being this like good time party girl, and then she ends up having and she kills somebody. She hits somebody with her car when she's drunk.
Right.
She's driving drunk.
That's right.
And this kind of like changes her life. Like she feels such guilt about this that she becomes kind of like a martyr or like a saint, and she like vows to atone for what she's done, and she ends up meeting the guy. Okay, she killed this woman, and I think, or was it his kid?
Well, he had a car crash.
His kid. Yeah.
Car crash.
That's right. Okay, so this family is in the van that she had. So it's a husband, wife, and child, and she ends up killing the husband, the wife, and the child, and the husband's left alone. He turns into an alcoholic, and his life is completely destroyed. And she ends up like cleaning for him and kind of like building a relationship with him. But it was just like really cool. Like, and the subplot is this other Earth, like another Earth appears in the sky, which is like the moon. Like when you look up in the eye and see the moon, only this you see like another Earth, literally. Yeah,
I don't know why I should have put this in one of my best lists, because that movie was just, it came out of nowhere.
It was so different. It was like so unique and such a quiet little film.
Yeah, very, very, very. Yeah. You know, get a chance to see it, and because it's really good.
Yeah, it was, and also the closing shot in this movie is like amazing, and it's a really cool ending.
Yep. So watch out for Another Earth. Because it is good.
Okay, another movie I have to mention is another movie I saw on HBO, a documentary on HBO.
Wow, you like HBO?
Yeah, and it was called "There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane." And it was about, a lot of you have heard the story, I'm sure, about this woman who, she was like this soccer mom type who had this like exemplary life, and she was driving a van with like loaded with kids. They went on some trip somewhere she was on the interstate in, I don't know if it was New Jersey or somewhere in the east anyway, and they had this horrific crash. And everybody except one child was killed, and there were like, I think, 5 or 6 kids in this car, in this van that she was driving. and they found out that she was driving with all this alcohol in her system and
No.
marijuana as well, right? And nobody could believe it because she was like this, you know, your typical
Normal.
like perfect mom, like
Right.
super mom type. And you know, everybody was saying how responsible she was, what a great person she was, what a hard worker she
So what
was.
happens? You just lose it, or
Well, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
It's like a mystery, and that's why this movie was so like engrossing, because they were trying to deconstruct the whole thing and figure out what happened. Like, why did this happen? And what was even like more terrifying was that the kids in the car, when she was driving in the van or whatever, they saw that she was driving erratically, and they got on their cell phones. And they were calling their parents saying, there's something wrong with Aunt Diane, and that's why the title of the movie. Right?
well, you know what? I mean,
It was just totally like tragic, awful, awful story, and it was really horrific.
well, watch out for it on HBO because they usually replay
I hope
things.
it's on again, because it was really like
Sounds good.
it was horrifying, and it was like really,
And who was in it?
well, it was a documentary.
That was a documentary.
So, yeah,
okay.
so they were interviewing her husband, her family,
Okay.
and the 3 of the kids in the car that were killed were her nephews,
Okay.
nieces and nephews. So
Well, we will definitely
yeah,
watch out
it
for
was,
this.
It was really an amazing movie. Very
Excellent.
Well done.
I never heard of it personally, but
Yeah,
you know, I will.
watch for it. Another documentary, Project Nim. I have to mention
Oh.
that one about the chimpanzee.
Now, you can't make this stuff up.
Oh, it was such a sad movie. I mean, I'm an animal. I
Yeah,
love
it's made by I
animals.
think the same guy who made Man on a Wire
Right.
that
yeah.
we saw a couple years ago, and that was
And,
different too.
Yeah, these scientists raise this chimp from birth with them in their houses and stuff like that. They basically treat him like a child, like another child.
Right.
And he becomes attached to them. And then, of course, when he gets too big and aggressive to handle, because he's like a growing chimpanzee,
ship him out.
They ship him off to like these labs and
Right.
and like these places where he's just kind of pretty much neglected, put in a cage, and
It's
just,
very,
you know,
it's a very sad,
it's heartrending.
very
you know?
sad, and you know, I mean, yeah, Project Nim is about a chimp, but you know what? I mean, that chimp was almost like a human being.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I mean, chimps are like the closest to humans in brain, whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
this
like,
is a
very,
must see for anyone. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to see this movie. It's
Yeah,
it's
and,
great.
yeah, it was just very, very an emotional movie.
Yeah.
And a great movie. I also have to mention The Skin I Live In, Pedro Almodovar.
Oh, Pedro Almodovar, Mr.
Almodovar.
Colorful himself.
Yeah, I wasn't. It was played at TIFF. Wasn't one. It was one of my second choices.
Yeah, we ended up seeing it in New York.
Yeah, we saw it in New York, and it was. I wasn't expecting much from this movie, and I was just blown away when I.
Which
saw
I could understand because, you know, Pedro Almodovar, I mean, yeah,
like Pedro.
he's made some clunkers,
Yeah,
but
he's made some, so-so
but
movies. But
you
he's
know,
also made some great movies.
this guy has some kind of track record,
And
so
this is the best movie I've seen by him in a long time.
yeah.
And Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, Mr. Pretty Boy is
Mr.
is good.
Gorgeous, Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Baby. Anyway, he
Oh.
played.
Oh,
He played a.
oh, I see.
He's a, come on.
Oh, well,
Anyway, he,
well, we get the message
Right,
there.
okay, well, anyway, he played this doctor, this brilliant surgeon or whatever. I'm not going to give away any
He thinks
of the
he's a
plot.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, I'm not going to give away any of the plot because it's too, like, freaky. You have to see it for yourself.
Yes, it's
But
it's
it
different.
was just an excellent, excellent movie. Very well done.
Yeah.
A joy to
Yes.
watch, as usual. His movies are always...
Pedro is the man,
He is.
you know, from Spain.
Yes.
Spain usually makes good movies. It's like a good country.
Yes.
And I could probably anticipate your next movie would probably be Michael.
Well, it's on my list. Okay, well, I'll talk about Michael then.
Michael's.
Michael Ehor also mentioned that on his list, an Austrian movie about an everyday guy, insurance broker, banker type, whatever, very nerdy looking guy who is a pedophile in secret, and he has abducted this young boy and has kept him in his house for years and years and years in this basement room. And what was amazing about this movie is how human it made this guy.
Yes.
Like, you know, he's a repulsive person. He's abusing this boy, but you can't help but kind of like connect with this character because you see him go about his daily life. He cooks.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything out of the ordinary.
He doesn't seem like an evil person. He seems like
Yeah,
an
it was
everyday
like,
guy.
evil, in a closet.
Yeah, like we all think of pedophiles as being these like, weird.
Right, this guy was not weird. It was just, a normal, he was kind of a nerdy guy.
Yeah, very.
But
the kind of guy who'd completely go under the radar, like you would
Right.
never suspect, right? But he's, he's a pedophile, and
you would never suspect, or we would never suspect this movie was this good.
no.
Made by a Michael Haneke protege named
Yeah.
Marcus Schleinzer.
I think we knew it was going to be good because it was Austrian, and all Austrian movies are.
I have never seen a bad Austrian movie.
But
So,
another thing, there's one really, really chilling scene in this movie where, like, this boy he has in his basement wants a companion, and he promised him, yeah, okay, I'll get you a friend or whatever. So he goes to this like
Playground?
racetrack or something where all these other kids are
Right.
hanging around, and he ends up luring.
I think it was like
kid,
a fair or something.
Yeah, he ends up luring this kid outside to the parking lot,
And
and
they're like-
he's like this
Right.
close to getting him in his car, and then his father comes out and says, hey, what are you doing, whatever, and
Right.
the kid runs back.
Right.
But you could see like how close he was to getting this other boy, right?
And that gives you the
And
creeps.
it just goes to show you, like, you hear about these pedophiles that hang out at all these playgrounds and how they lure their victims, with, whatever, like, help me find my puppy, or, whatever kind of shit.
Oh yeah, they'll do anything. Yeah,
Yeah, but no, this movie was
they're
just,
predators.
it was like riveting.
Yes.
It was riveting, it was terrifying, and it was like, you couldn't take your eyes off this movie.
Right.
It was fantastic.
Maybe it'll come out one day,
I hope
somewhere
so.
because.
I hope you guys see it, because it'll blow you away.
Yeah. Don't get to know Michael
No.
because he's not a good guy.
Another
Great ending though.
Yeah,
A great ending you'll never.
surprise ending that you would never guess.
You can.
I mean,
You can't even predict the ending.
I mean, the movie was good enough without that ending, but I
Right.
mean, with the ending, it just amped it up even that much more.
Right. Well, it's not the the ending of the ending, but it's like close to the end.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, watch out for this movie
Yeah.
because
Watch out for Michael from Austria, and the director is Marcus
Schleinzer,
Looked it up, Marcus
a
Schleinzer.
Michael Haneke protege. Who,
Right.
wow, great job.
Okay, another movie on my list is Another Year by Mike Lee.
Another movie with Mike.
And this was another movie that I just sat there like just totally engrossed.
Mike Lee is.
Even though it's about like just ordinary everyday people, like you're just fascinated by hearing their conversations. Like one of the whole story centers around this very happily married couple. They're in their middle age,
And their friends.
played by Jim Broadbent and I don't know who the actress
forget the
is.
actress.
The actress. But they have these friends, and their house is kind of like the hub of like the social activity.
Right.
Like everybody goes. It's the kind of place everybody feels at home. Everybody wants to be there because it's such a happy home. And so they have this one friend, or she has a friend who she works with, who's this very attractive 40-something woman.
She's very neurotic.
But she's also very neurotic and insecure,
Right.
and you can see that she's very jealous of their.
And she's
of their
almost
happy
like losing
home.
it.
Yeah. And she kind of clings to them because she wants their lifestyle.
Yeah, it's another typical social drama from Mike Lee, who's very
kitchen sink drama, but
very adept
yeah,
at making these type of movies.
yeah. But it was just it's a joy, like just hearing the dialogue, and it's almost like you're standing there in the kitchen with
Yep.
them, like
Yeah,
having.
he's like the master of the masters, if that's even possible.
Yeah, he is.
Because him and Ken Loach are the two best British directors. There's a lot of good ones, but yeah, Another Year is
Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent.
that is great drama,
Yep.
great filmmaking.
Yep. Another movie I have to mention that Ihor again. We have a lot of the same movies on our list. Joanna, which we saw at the European Film Festival, about this
Whoa,
the Polish
Wow.
woman who rescues a little Jewish girl who's in danger of being taken by the Gestapo and put in a concentration camp. Her mother has already been rounded up and taken away, and this girl is like on her own. And she takes in this girl as her own and takes care of her
right.
in her apartment. And her own husband is in the war. So she was like she kept waiting for her husband to come home.
Right.
And I guess she was lonely. She had that, so maybe she was kind of like had the girl as, a companion kind of. But she takes like excellent care of her and treats her like her own daughter, basically. And it was just really.
Yeah, it's probably the most emotional movie that we saw, or that I saw anyway.
So.
A movie that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like.
And I'm sure there were many, many stories like that happened in the World War II era, where people, rescued people and brought them into their homes and hid them and took care of them and stuff. And this is like this adorable little child. I mean, you just want to bundle her up in your arms and take care of her.
Yeah, no, this movie is just It's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's all you can say.
Excellent movie. Yeah.
You know, see it, you know, if you want to watch a movie.
I hope it comes out on DVD so that people can see
Right.
it, because it's
Movie from Poland that,
yeah.
and you know, usually movies of Poland deal with war.
Right.
And
So
this
how
is no
much time
different.
do we have on the camera?
I have no idea.
Can you read it?
I don't know.
Because
Where's
I've got 2 more to go here.
Keep going.
Okay, so another movie I have to mention is one I saw at TIFF called Twiggy.
Ah, I never saw it.
French movie about this. I wasn't expecting anything from this movie. Actually, it wasn't even my first choice. I ended up getting this movie by default because I picked another movie that I didn't get a ticket for, so I got
which
this
was
one instead.
Something about we can't stop talking about Kevin.
Yeah, I tried to get a ticket for We Need to Talk About Kevin, and I ended up
the one
getting
with
this
Tilda Swinton.
instead, yeah. And I'm so glad I did, because this was beautiful, beautiful movie, which I bawled my eyes out at. It's a French movie about this little young French girl, pretty little thing that looks just like Julie Delpy, if you guys know Julie Delpy, the actress. And she's like maybe 19, 20 years old. She's on her own in, I think it's in Marseille or somewhere like that. And she works in this like art gallery or something like that, or museum. And you know, she's on her own. She's making her own living. She has a little apartment, whatever. She's living her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds out that she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And she's adamant, like, she does not want this kid. She's like, I do not want a kid right now. I want an abortion. But when she finds out that she's pregnant, she's like, she's already 6 months pregnant or something. So it's way too late to get an abortion, and nobody would do it. And so she's pretty much forced to carry this child to term and give birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's really against it. She hates it. She's like, oh, I don't want to be a mother, and I don't want this. And so she ends up.
So it's very really realistic movie instead of one of these, like, you know,
like,
you know, feel good Hollywood type things.
No, definitely not. Like, and she's completely on her own. Like, she has no friends. When the movie starts, she doesn't have a boyfriend. She ends up meeting this guy.
She likable?
Very likable, yeah.
Okay.
Because she's so independent. She's like only like 19 or 20 years old, but she's this very independent young woman. And she just finds herself in this situation that she didn't bargain for. And there's no way out because, you know, she can't get an abortion. So she has to give birth to this child, even though she doesn't want it. So, of course, she decides, yeah, well, I'm going to give it up for adoption. I'm not going to keep this child. And everybody who finds out kind of doesn't like her very much. Because you're heartless. Like, how can you give up your child like that? You know, why don't you want it? And she's just like, I don't want to be a mother. So, you know, it's just like, it sounds like she's a heartless person, but she really wasn't.
Okay.
And when the baby is finally born, which is when, like, I bawled my eyes out, the scene where she gives birth to the baby, they take it away right away. She doesn't even want to see it. She doesn't want to name it, nothing, right? But then when the movie ends, she ends up going back to the orphanage or whatever where the baby is and saying goodbye. And she puts a little sketchbook in the crib and says, you know, I guess she leaves her a picture of herself or something. Mm-hmm. And she says, "You're strong." That's what Kim does. That she goes, "Oh, you're strong," and just like her, right? Mm-hmm. And then she ends up leaving, right?
Okay, wow.
And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful movie. I've never seen a movie about like a young woman who's pregnant like that, you know, is so adamant about giving it up and just wanting to go on.
Well, people make tough decisions.
Yeah.
And that was obviously, you know, probably.
It was so true to life, like a young woman finding out that she's pregnant, not wanting the baby, and having to figure out, what am I going to do?
Good. That's the kind of movies you want to see.
So it was excellent.
Realistic.
I hope you guys see it. Okay.
Not the real Twiggy.
No.
Back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, and they call her Twiggy. The reason that she doesn't know that she's pregnant when she's 6 months along is that she doesn't show. She's still a thin, slender girl, and she doesn't end up showing until she's like 8 or 9 months. So that's why she's called Twiggy, because she's pregnant. But you would never know.
Good description there.
Right.
Yeah.
So my best movie of the year, unequivocally, number 1 is Into the Abyss by Werner Herzog, which was a documentary about
the master himself rises again.
The master, the god. But anyway, it was
Werner's great.
He's amazing. And he's gotten into like documentaries lately.
He made Encounters at the End of the World.
Yeah, which was a documentary.
And you know, he's made other documentaries,
But Into the Abyss is about a horrific crime, a triple homicide in Texas, which was perpetrated by these 2 young guys. They were like 18 and 17 at the time or whatever. And they're on. One of them is on death row, and the other one is in prison for life. And the reason the guy is in prison for life and not on death row is because he was too young at the time to go on death row. He was 17, so he got away with the death penalty. He couldn't be killed. But this other guy was 18, so he got put on death row. And of course, they're both accusing the other of perpetrating the actual murders. But anyway, it was just like the guy who was on death row was this like buck-toothed country boy who looked like, you know, a choir boy. Like, you would never think a guy like this could have done what he did. But apparently he did. Or either he and this other guy or both of them did it, right? And it was just horrific. And the guy who ended up doing life had all this history in his family. His father was on death row, not on death row. He was in prison for life. And his brothers, like, I mean, it was all in his family, right? His whole family was in fucking jail.
So this was a chronicle of, you know.
Yeah, it was, I guess, a look at the prison system and how it goes in families, right? Like, it tends to go in families. So these criminal...
These guys did the crime and they're doing the time, and Werner was there chronicling, you know, their thoughts and all that. So I mean,
and the guy he was interviewing, the guy on death row, did end up being executed. Yeah. But I think at the time he was interviewing him, he was like maybe a month away, and he was appealing or whatever. But of course, the appeal didn't go through. He ended up being executed. But I mean, it was tragic because he was only like 18 or 19 years old.
Well, you know,
he had his whole life ahead of him.
Right.
Why would he have done this? Right.
Well,
for a car, and it was for a car supposedly. They wanted to steal this car.
Yeah.
Right.
Movies, people do things for whatever reasons, and you know, most of the times they get caught. So.
But I mean, it was just like so many tragic stories. Like when Werner was interviewing the family members, and they were telling like all these stories about, you know, there's drug addiction, there's alcoholism.
Well, you know, it's a whole conglomerate of things.
People in jail for murder.
Right.
You know, like just all this, like, you know, just these horrible like family histories. Right.
Well, the title, you know, definitely describes the you know, the events and the people.
Absolutely.
It's you know.
It sounds like very depressing, and it was very depressing, but it was also like just absolutely engrossing. It reminded me of In Cold Blood.
Yeah.
That
classic.
movie. Yeah, because it was just like a senseless crime, right?
Yeah.
And
a lot of crimes are senseless.
Yeah, and again, the guy who committed the crime in Cold Blood was also somebody who you would never thought, like, his personality did not seem to fit a killer. He was like, on the surface, he was this very calm, you know, ordinary guy, but then I guess something set him off, and he just ended up being a murderer, right? So.
Right. Well, Werner's, you know, one of my favorites. I love his accent.
Oh yeah, Werner's the best. Yeah.
And we cannot wait for his next magnus opus.
Yeah.
Sometime in 2012.
You can always be assured that you're going to see something interesting with
oh
him.
yeah,
he's got great topics.
He you know, pulls subjects out of his hat, and
right.
wasn't he the same guy who made you know, the one about the midget? What was that thing? The German one, you know, what do you call it?